Hello everyone, this is the History Spectrum channel. In this video, I have a dream. Yes, we will be discussing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Please watch to the end. The young Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. grew up in a family that placed a high value on education. And his early education had a profound impact on his life. His father was a minister, and the importance of religion and education was emphasized in the home. He excelled academically from a young age and showed extraordinary talent early on, entering college at the age of 15. His family environment and early education were important factors in setting the direction of Reverend King's life. He witnessed racism from a young age, and his awareness of and reaction to it became the foundation for his involvement in the civil rights movement. Through his own experiences as a black man, he deeply understood the absurdity and pain of racism. He faced and was affected by the reality of racism, including the experience of not being able to play with his close white friends when he was a child. These experiences helped him grow into a campaigner against racism. Reverend King began his involvement in social movements at a young age, and his early experiences shaped his later role as a leader in the civil rights movement. From his college years, he had a strong interest in social justice and was actively involved in activism for equality and fairness. While in college, he participated in many discussions and learned about the importance of nonviolence and equality, which he began to put into practice. His experiences during this period led him to become an important leader in the civil rights movement. Montgomery Bus Boycott. The Montgomery Bus Boycott was an important event that established Reverend King as a leader in the civil rights movement. Through this boycott, he raised the call for equal rights and fair treatment. The boycott began when Rosa Parks protested unfair treatment in bus seating, and Reverend King played a central role in organizing this protest movement and engaging the entire community to spread the boycott message. His proactive leadership and outstanding public speaking skills allowed the boycott to expand far and wide, resulting in a successful outcome. This effort by Reverend King strengthened his leadership in the civil rights movement. Reverend King placed the principle of nonviolence at the heart of the Montgomery Bus Boycott and developed a new strategy. He believed it was important to promote change through peaceful means, without resorting to violence. During the boycott, he and the participants continued to protest peacefully, despite arrests and violent defiance. This nonviolent approach would set the direction for the entire civil rights movement and had a profound impact on later movements. The success of the Montgomery Bus Boycott marked the beginning of a national civil rights movement. The boycott garnered national attention, as it resulted in tangible victories to advance civil rights for blacks. As a result of the boycott, racial distinctions on buses were outlawed and equal rights were granted to black citizens. The boycott marked an important turning point in the American civil rights movement and has gone down in history. The March on Washington and the Dream Speech. The March on Washington was designed as a strong protest against racial discrimination and a movement for equal rights for all people. Many leaders, including Dr. Martin Luther King, organized this peaceful march to urge the government to enact civil rights legislation. The march was planned as a major event to send an important message to the nation as a whole. The I Have a Dream speech was a historic address that encapsulated Reverend King's vision and strong desire for racial equality. Reverend King believed that America should be a country of equal opportunity for all people regardless of race. His speech touched many people as he spoke of his dream of a world where people of different races could live together. The speech became a symbol of Reverend King's ideals and the goals of the civil rights movement. The I Have a Dream speech became an important milestone in the civil rights movement and had a profound impact throughout the nation. The speech resonated with many as it strongly emphasized the importance of equality and fairness to the American people. Following the speech, civil rights debates and political movements across the United States accelerated. Reverend King's speech was a major step forward in the civil rights movement and a major step toward the elimination of racial discrimination. Receiving the Nobel Peace Prize. Reverend King's path to the Nobel Peace Prize was the result of his outstanding contributions to the civil rights movement. His peaceful campaign based on nonviolence garnered significant attention around the world and underscored his role as a promoter of peace. Reverend King continued to be a powerful voice for peace and equality through such significant events as the Montgomery Bus Boycott and the March on Washington. His work was highly recognized during the Nobel Peace Prize selection process and led to his awarding of the prize. Reverend King's Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech was an important opportunity to convey the message of the civil rights movement to the world. The speech expressed his deep desire for peace and equality and had an impact on people around the world. His speech contained a message of hope in the fight against racism and inspired many people with courage and inspiration. The speech made it clear that Reverend King's movement was not just a domestic issue, but an important challenge for all mankind. The Nobel Peace Prize symbolized international support for Reverend King and the civil rights movement and gave the movement additional momentum. The award brought the civil rights movement to global attention and underscored its legitimacy and importance. After receiving the award, Reverend King's movement garnered even broader support and strengthened its work for the elimination of racial discrimination. In the United States and around the world, the Nobel Peace Prize was a major contribution to the success of the movement, resulting in worldwide recognition of Reverend King's efforts and the significance of the civil rights movement. March from Selma to Montgomery. The Selma to Montgomery March was planned as an important campaign for black voting rights. At the time, although blacks had the right to vote, Many barriers made it difficult for them to actually vote. The march was organized by civil rights leaders, including Drive Martin Luther King, as a protest against this unfair situation. The purpose of the march was to ensure the right of blacks to vote and to send a message of equality throughout the country. During the march, participants faced challenges such as violence and arrests, which they responded to nonviolently. Because of the civil rights movement's commitment to nonviolence, violent responses were avoided. During Bloody Sunday, which occurred on the first day of the march, participants continued to protest peacefully despite violent police obstructions. The nonviolent response to these difficulties helped legitimize the movement and garner more support. The Selma to Montgomery March was an important turning point in the civil rights movement, resulting in significant social and political change. The march attracted national attention and succeeded in putting pressure on politicians. As a result of the march, President Lyndon B. Johnson pushed for the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which protected the voting rights of blacks. The march was a major step toward the elimination of racial discrimination and the establishment of civil rights in American society. The assassination and subsequent legacy. The assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. occurred on April 4, 1968. Against the backdrop of opposition to his civil rights activism. His activism for equality and fairness was seen by some as a threat. His assassination at a motel in Memphis, Tennessee, was a sign of growing tension and hostility toward the civil rights movement. Reverend King's death illustrates the importance of his movement and the strength of resistance to it. Reverend King's assassination sent shockwaves not only in the United States, but throughout the world. He was an internationally respected symbol of peace, and his death brought deep sorrow to many. Following the assassination, protests and riots broke out across the United States, underscoring the importance of his legacy and movement. Reverend King's assassination was etched in history as a tragic moment in the struggle for racial equality and civil rights. Reverend King's legacy has a tremendous impact today. His message of nonviolence and equality continues to be an important guiding principle in today's social movements. His ideas and movements have had a profound impact on the human rights movement and the pursuit of social justice around the world. Reverend King's life and movement remain an inspiration to many and a symbol of the movement for equality and justice. How was it? In this issue, we explained about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like this video. History Spectrum.